Welcome everyone to the StarLadder and iLeague StarSeries Season 3 Last Chance Qualifier. What that means is you'll be able to see some of the players today play off to figure out who's going to be moving on to the live finals, which means if you haven't seen any of the previous matches that went on, you missed the round robin and what led up to this point. Lothar is here again casting with me. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and today we'll have two Kolentos in two different corners. In the left corner, there's Kolento, and in the right corner, there's Kolento as well.
That's what we're opening with today. It's the Battle of the God Lentos. No matter how we spin this, a Kolento is going to go home with at least one victory in the last chance qualifier. It may not make it all the way through, but hopefully we'll have one of two Kolentos all the way through. If I'm not mistaken, one of these Kolentos is playing for you as well, right?
Yes, one of the Kolentos is from Netherlands and is actually named Thijs. From what I know, this is like his street name, street cred. But they both fight in the chicken weight group, though. You know, I don't know if that's actually a word in English, but there's like the smallest.
The what?
The smallest weight group in boxing. What is it being called?
Oh, I see. Okay, yes, the lightweight. Okay,
but it's even like lower than lightweight.
Oh, chicken weight?
I think that's something like that. And in Polish, it's actually like chicken weight, you know. But
okay.
Yeah, but I don't know the English name.
I'll try to find it. Lowest lightweight boxing. All right, let's go. I'm gonna figure that out.
It's something with feathers. I think like featherlight.
Oh yes, you're right. There's flyweight. I think
something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, feather. I think it's flyweight. Featherweight exists for sure. I know featherweight exists. That's for sure.
All right, we see here Thijs and Kolento already on cameras. And they start the game already. Well, look at that. That is swift.
Yeah, these guys are ready to play, man. They're just ready.
This is unexpected. So fast. So clean.
Yeah, I didn't see the bans, but Thijs is on Druid, Quest Rogue, Midrange Paladin, and Discover Mage. Clearly his Mage was not banned. So I imagine Kolento probably locked out that Quest Rogue since his lineup does not work well against it.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Thijs did the exact same thing to his opponent. Since both decks, the rogue on both sides would be amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Just so you guys know, we already have the four players joining the LAN finals today from the 4 players that we have. So from Thijs, Kolento, and from Zalay and Xixo, only one guy will be advancing, and we'll then still have 3 players from the Chinese community that will join the LAN finals. So 8 players in general in Kiev next month, which is in actually just a few days.
Yeah, it's like 10 days from now. We'll be having the grand
hype
finals. Yeah, man, we're getting there. It's been a long series of games for the players, and all the way through the round robin. And now the problem is, there's 4 of them today with Thijs, Kolento, Xixo, and Zalay, but only one of them is going to make it through. So it is a double elimination bracket, which means that they will not simply be eliminated when they lose their first match. They will have a chance to climb back up from the losers bracket. But this is, the first match of the day, and it is very often what determines how much effort you'll have to put to get back in there. And it's always kind of grueling when you lose the first one, and then you end up winning the second one. You have to get back all the way to the top and then beat the top of the bracket again. So this first match is oftentimes the one that leads to the highest amount of pressure on the players.
Yep, that is true. And now a little bit about the match itself. This particular matchup between the, let's say Burn Mage, Tempo, Burn, kind of like that, Mage, and the Druid is that what Thijs needs to do in this matchup is find early game to get that chip damage in the first rounds and the first turns, when he can then finish up the game with the burn from hand, so he doesn't need to spend his fireballs clearing up taunts later on. That's very important, because what Kolento will try to do is to survive the early game with removal and then just finish up from one point with Earthen Scales and Feather Rages, when he will gain almost insane HP and will just make unable for Thijs to deal that damage anymore, because Thijs will have limited damage this game, while Kolento doesn't have that. So that's the matchup how it looks right now.
Yeah, it explains also why Kolento went for the Innervate ramp on Nourish. Not a play you typically see, but this is the type of matchup where outscaling your opponent in terms of Minion size is very, very important. And the attack from Kolento last turn after that nourish seems to indicate that there will be a swipe. So Thijs is expecting to get swiped here in many, many cases. Will not happen. However, Kolento had other things in mind with the Dark Reaper and the hero power. So Thijs is going to be happy to see that the Apprentice dealt 9 damage, connected once with the attack and twice with the Druid smashing himself into it. So this Sorcerer Apprentice has dealt more than you'd expect out of a 2-drop.
That's actually pretty insane when you think about it. The 9 damage out of the Apprentice, I mean, with -2 armor, but still, it's 9 damage in general, might make it possible to close it out with Burn. Very crucial. Very crucial. And now also, Thijs needs to prepare the upcoming turn. Ice Block is one of those secrets that will never get popped. So it's a good setup for the Valet for the next turn. Or he would... There are basically 2 options. Arcane Intellect and then Ice Block next turn. Most likely pass with the attack.
I don't think you're attacking into the 3/5 just yet, since it can't trade positively if you just leave over the turn to Kolento. A 1/5 is not a big threat, really. Thijs's glyph early on gave him that Firelands Portal, which at 5 mana represents an insane swing. It's like you're getting 5 mana. You're getting a 5 mana, 5-drop. That also battle cries for 5 damage. That is completely nuts. Like, the power level of the Firelands Portal right now is through the roof, and the fact that he's able to chain it into even more, board removal is really crazy. I don't know how Kolento's supposed to, put a foothold on the board and keep it there.
Especially without any removal. Like, from the previous turn, the turn 5 that Kolento did, just spoiled his entire hand. There's no wrap, there's no swipe there. So how do you remove minions? You need to sacrifice other stuff, right? In this case, Feral Rage is not something you want to use as a removal. You need to use it as a life gain later in the game. So this is pretty clutch for Thijs to get that info. Man.
Yeah, the read he makes on this is probably fairly simple. At his level of play, you're capable of making hand reads just based on what your opponents do in the previous turn, and this is one of these that I think was just telegraphed. And that right there is a minion mages like. I remember that in my starter deck back when I completed my tutorial. This guy was my favorite friend. I would just ping him 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's pretty insane when you think about it.
Yeah. Amani Berserker. No, sorry, Gurubashi Berserker. I apologize.
Yeah, it's the bigger brother.
Yep.
He has bigger tusks.
Well, I mean, a 6 health minion is tough to deal with, so you could just ping it to start with and then fireball the Gadgetsan for safety's sake.
I like the fireball, to be honest. Like, you can't really leave that open, especially with that kind of hand that the opponent has. And just push for the 7 damage. It's good enough. I mean, you get the damage almost back with that Gurubashi Berserker. When you think about it, for 7 mana, so for the basic cost of the Firelands Portal, he got a 5/6 minion, which has the option to be 8/5 next turn. Actually, it is 8/5 right now. 8/4, sorry.
This is so absurd.
I think that looks pretty decent for Thijs, I would say.
So there's a play for Thijs where he goes Ice Block and Valet Frostbolt to kill the Drake and guarantee that 8/4 connects to face at least once to bring the Druid down to 5. And what that means is even if Druid armors up, you then have a lethal over 2 turns with Fireland Portal pings usually should be sufficient to get you through. So we'll see what Thijs opts for, but it seems really sweet to me, man. Gets to put all the minions down and kill the Drake.
Excuse me, you are on fire.
Wow. That's fortunate. So the glyph into Fireland's Portal was really good this game.
It definitely was. I mean, there's no way for Kolento to get back here. Even if he goes for the auction. Okay, if he chains Innervate, there's a small chance.
Fair enough. I think his best chance is probably Wrath for 1 into a swipe without playing Auctioneer.
I can see.
Even that's a stretch. In this case, we see Thijs just, Kolento take the game 1-0. That Mage has been very strong in the event so far for all the players who brought it. J Druid is supposed to have a good matchup against it, but there are openers like these that are very minion heavy where you just zoo down the Druid.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's pretty powerful. when you think about it, when you have openings like that, right? Yesterday we witnessed how Orange had an opening. It was pretty nuts as well. Like Mana Vim, Arcanologist, turn 3 Kirin Tor Mage. I mean, it was a different version, but it's still similar style, kind of the mage. Has the same game plan in general. But he finished up with the turn 3 Kirin Tor Mage Secret into turn 4 Medivh's Valet and a Glyph, I think. And when you think about it, that curve is almost unstoppable, especially when you get a decent spell from the Glyph. But now we're jumping into the mirror match. So Jade against Jade, and Thijs has 2 Wild Growths.
He's got 2 Wild Growths, but there's a problem with having too much ramp in the matchup, and that really it comes down to who's able to get those Jades out on curve as naturally as possible. Now, granted, that the fact that he's got the Wild Growths is going to give him an edge in that regard, where he should be able to play his 6 drops earlier than his opponents, and those tend to be the swingiest Jade cards in the matchup. So unless you're able to get Jade Idols super early with Jade Spirits, it's usually the 6 drops that start snowballing that advantage in your camp. And I think give him a little bit more time, and Thijs could start generating too much value. But he's going to have to do it quick, because Kolento's on the board already.
Yeah, but he has ways of going back onto the board. I mean, he has the swipe. By the way, sorry for the Twitch police. I don't know if you heard that. But
no. What's up?
Okay, never mind that.
Okay.
He can also just play Harrison Jones. It's decent enough, but it plays directly into the swipe, so that's the only problem. It plays into a Wrath as well, so I don't know. It's a very tough choice. You have to evaluate how much do you need this swipe in the future turns, because you have an Auctioneer and an Innervate. So if you keep the swipe, you're able to play on turn 8 the Auctioneer with Innervate and swipe. I mean, that's not turn 8, because basically you have to ramp twice, but you get my point. And here, I like the way that Thijs played this game, because he can go for the swipe this turn as well, finish up a 2-2 with that hero power, and kill the Ooze with the Harrison Jones. Kill the Jade Spirit with the Harrison Jones. Still have board control.
There's a tempting Innervate Drake that's just there, and then you can play Aya on the back of it. But the Gaddison Auctioneer with Innervate is clearly something you want to be considering, right? Like keeping that card draw engine for a bit later. So there's the slow play of Aya Blackball now that things change, right?
Aya Blackball on its own right now is not that powerful, since the Jade Golems are just 1-1 and 1-2.
Sure.
So that's not as usual. The potential of the swing with Aya is not that big as usual. It's still the case of keeping the swipe for the Innervate with Gazetan, but I would say that you still have 2 draws for the Gazetan to get a smaller spells, which are better for that Innervate as well. So I really like to just play to swipe and maintain board advantage while your opponents still have to sacrifice some mana to kill the Harrison Jones. In this case, that will have to be a Wrath or a swipe, or a Drake with 2 Innervates, and that's just, almost not possible.
Yeah, that's unrealistic, to say the least. So Kolento here, very far behind in terms of ramp. We've talked about that, but since they're both going to be entering the 6-mana count, it happens very often that you see that, those big swings not having come out early for Thijs are not going to matter too much here. Kolento has caught up, and he's finally starting to get into his late game as well.
There we go.
Oh, man.
That's a really good spell for Thijs. And he might even open right now the Gazetan because of the fact that he saw the Wrath being used. That's one of the reasons why you might just play Gazetan, go for the Jade Idol this turn. But at the same time, I feel like Aya is just better on board.
Yeah, Aya Blackball pressures your opponent a lot more, and it actually sort of capitalizes on your ramp later if you keep the Gaddison, because you've got 2 mana crystals over your opponent, right? So if you wait longer, the fact that you're 2 mana crystals ahead lets that Gaddison do even more work earlier than your opponent, so you're not afraid of them doing it to you earlier than you do it to them. So you always have kind of priority over the Gaddison turn, and I think that's worth something.
All right, let me ask you: do you use Jade Idol for Gorham, or do you shuffle it in this particular case? Because
I think I'd be tempted to shuffle them.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. Change. It doesn't matter, right? He might, in this case, still shuffle them. I think at the end of the day, I think he will shuffle at least one.
Maybe not this turn, right? But
No, sure. Doesn't need to do it this turn. If he wants to get the board clear, he needs to fill Rage no matter what.
the reason why I
kill
was
it
thinking
briefly.
about the shuffle is just because of the fact that he has the Drake in his hand. So having a, you know, a 2/2 Jade Golem right now on the board is not really that advantageous.
Fair enough. Yeah, because you end up basically throwing that minion to death for no reason.
If you want to play, of course, the Primordial Drake, this might change. But if you assume your opponent will be, you know, playing minions as well, you most likely will use it for traits. But so it's an, I would say it's an interesting spot. But historically speaking, when it comes to Druid mirror matches, the guy that has more minions on board wins. So that's the biggest reason why you don't want to shuffle it, right? And this also telegraphs what's coming next turn.
Yeah, Tice knows that he basically, unless he plays the Jade card to make, you know, bigger and bigger Jades, there's really little point to playing into the board. So in this case, he's able to do it because of the Jade Spirit, but it's thanks to the information Kolento sent, which is, hey, I'm about to play a Drake. What's up? Oh, looks like Tice is just going for the full tempo play.
Yeah, I
We've
like
seen
this.
I mean, if you didn't keep the Get Sand for later, then sure, that's just consistent with your game plan.
I mean, in this case, that's what I was talking about. The Druid that has more minions will most likely win the game. This is even why Tice played the Elfin Scale on a 3/2 instead of a 6/6, just to survive the Primordial Drake and have easy way to trade with it next turn, because now he has 4/1, 4/2 that can trade, and still pushes for 12 damage.
So Tice here will be able to connect. So how much he's got? He's got 6 here.
Well, he will need to sacrifice the 5.
So he's got
greens.
11 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can trade the 4/2 and the 2/1 if he wants to.
Oh.
And play the Drake to then push for more.
Yes, that's one possibility. I like it more.
But this is pretty clean after that swipe pickup. It's actually a lot cleaner than throwing your Drake into your own board, giving Kolento a chance to come back on the back of a second Drake, for instance. This is just gonna kill Kolento.
I mean, he has
and
ways. If he would survive the one turn, he has ways of potentially making a comeback because he has so much life gain. But at the same time, how do you just go back on the board, right? You need the second Drake. That's why. That's also very interesting because we had Engine of Wars in the previous builds, and the reason why we have now the Primordial Drakes instead of the Engine of Wars, although they are more expensive, is just they do something that Druid was always lacking. Having an AoE and enough powerful AoE to just maintain board control, help up with traits, still pick up a huge minion that has taunt. It does actually everything that Druid wanted to have in a big minion. So it fits perfectly, the Jade Golem archetype.
Yeah, we've seen some people put it in and out. Mostly now it's kind of phased out because of how slow it feels against those. Well, Murloc Curves, for instance. Looking at Tice's hand right now, again, another matchup he's happy to take. That mid-range Paladin jamming itself against a Jade Druid has an amazing time, usually, given that they can stick to the board and not get pushed off. When you look at Tice's hand and you look at Kolento's hand, you have to give Tice a massive edge. I do not even know if there is a combination of cards Kolento has early that defuses this in a way that puts him ahead over the next few turns. It's going to be an uphill battle for Kolento. He's going to have to set up weird swipe turns with the hope of finding what he wants.
Yep. This doesn't really
not
look
looking
great.
good.
Yeah. That Rockwool Hunter. Yikes. Tice
And
is
Tice
already
right
like,
now.
I got him.
Got him! Best 2-drop in the deck. Make that guy a 4/2. Immune to the second attack from the Druid. And that Druid's looking like he's going to be taking a lot of damage. But maybe measly 1-drop. He's going to have to ramp up, try to set up some kind of comeback. There's Feral Rage that was open, but then you're just giving the Tice Murlocs even more power.
But in this case, look at that. Tice might just go for the defender and just put a huge roadblock against any kind of attacks from Druid. At the same time, the secrets now will have a lot of value, so both plays are really decent.
And now Tice knows there can't be a swipe hero power, so he's not really worried about 2 minions dying in this spot. Kolento, just looking at this, might choose to to go for a weak.
Well, next
Do you
is...
ever win on a weak armor up turn? Is the question.
No, I don't think so. To be honest, I was thinking that he needs to commit to Feral Rage on the turn before, just to kill that Tide Caller. But now he has to bear the consequences of being passive on turn 3 with just the Jade Blossom, and the consequence on that is that, well, now there's a secret. It can be a Noble Sacrifice, or just a Redemption, or Gateway Kodo, and you will not gain much by playing Feral Rage this time. Man, this is a really tough choice.
The thing is, you have to also consider that there are secrets other than, redemption in this case. So you have to worry about repentance being a thing. Then Jade Behemoth just dies, so you can't really catch up. So every option you have available to you is putting you in a position of needing 2 removal pieces for the next turn, and that could just be lethal with Wind Fury.
Well, here we go. +3 attack.
Actually, it's even +3 attack and Wind Fury.
Yeah,
They both do it. Turn 4 kill.
Wait.
Get them Murlocs online.
What time is it? It's erect o'clock.
Kolento wins 3-0.
And loses at the same time. Man, what a game
Nailed
for
it.
Thijs. Kolento is not out though. It's a double elimination bracket, so he is just going down. Down. He will be waiting for the second opponent from the next match, which will be either Zalay or Xixo, and then those two guys will have an elimination match between each other. So that will be the high stakes. Thijs, though, now makes it to the next stage, and we'll wait for the winner of Zalay and Xixo, and then the next guys will play against each other, and the one that will win. Oh, here we go. Well, now we just see it. I don't need to talk about it.
No need to explain anything. It's much better to look at visually. Xixo and Zalay are going to be playing up against each other next. So for a series that did not contain any aggro decks, this was awfully quick. We saw snowballs on both sides, and Thijs ended up just 3-0ing Kolento. Xixo and Zalay are going to be coming right up. We have a little bit more aggro on that side of the bracket, which is interesting because we ended up seeing 2 mid-range lineups against each other, and then we're going to see 2 aggro lineups against each other. The series could be extremely quick and explosive. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back for the second match of the Last Chance Qualifier.